What's going on, everybody? Johnny TCG back at it again with another video. Today we've got some Monkey D. Luffy OP01 spice for you. This isn't really a popular leader right now, and so there aren't really a lot of standard deck lists for it, as opposed to some of the meta decks right now where it's pretty easy to find a deck and use it. This is kind of what I came up with after seeing a couple different lists online. It's a pretty interesting list. Of course, it is going to be focused around cards like Kid and Killer, Zoro, and especially Cavendish now that EB01 is here. And then using your laws to synergize with the rest of your deck, be able to reactivate one of your characters again along with the leader ability. My most recent change was adding this Tony chopper instead of the one drop Tony chopper. Wow. So yeah, we'll see how this works out. Let's get into some gameplay. Our first matchup of the day is against a purple yellow crocodile, aka Showtime Croc, aka Lakers Croc. I'm gonna go first, and I am gonna mulligan my first hand. Ideally, we do see a Nami, but unfortunately, we don't. My only counter power is this Monkey D. Luffy 2K and the Trafalgar Law. That's one thing about this deck is that I do not run a lot of 2Ks, so that may be something that we'll see if I need to change after these games. 5,000 with lead at life, and they take it. No trigger. A lot of purple yellow crocodiles run a lot of triggers, so love to always feel grateful not to have them play one. I'm debating between the 3-drop Monkey D. Luffy and the Rush Zoro. The 3-drop Monkey D. Luffy, though, it is some of my only counter, and so I decided to go with the Zoro instead. And it will act as a pseudo blocker because I know they're going to want to get it off the field ASAP. They're going to swing at it. But I have a feeling here that if I can protect it, then they're not going to swing at it again. They will probably play a Mr. Tube on Clay or a Miss Wednesday with their remaining done. So I decided to protect it. And my guess is right. They play the Miss Wednesday blocker, which is a great card in that deck. A new card from EB01 that is so annoying to play against. I draw Brook for my turn, but there's nothing I can really do with it right now. I think I'm just going to go 5 at lead to start. Using Miss Wednesday's ability, they get it down ramped. They're going to take this hit. No trigger. Love to see it. I'm going to go 5 with leader. I'm expecting them to counter out of this one probably. They do have a decent amount of cards in hand, and I do run a lot of rushers. Here's the Okama Way. That's such a great card. EB01. You'll see it all the time when playing against purple yellow Crocs. I'm going to play down the starter deck to Trafalgar Law and restand my Zoro to swing with it. And then I'm going to pass the turn. My board's feeling pretty good. For the most part, I don't think Purple Yellow Croc runs a lot of on-play removal besides maybe 9-drop Kaido. But I do not have a lot of counter in hand, which does make me feel a little nervous. They go 6 at Zoro. I would have loved to save it. Really apply pressure next turn, but there's nothing I can do. It has to go. RIP. They're going to play the Mr. Tube on Clay. Lets them ramp it down. I do get the Dracula Mihawk off the top of my deck. Nothing. I could play the Brook off of it, but those would be my only counters, and I don't really think that's worth it in terms of uh, kind of putting me over the edge to make a push for this game. 7 Dawn active. Debating on what really I should do. I think I'm just going to end up swinging 6 with Law and kind of poking a bit. I don't think this will be the case, but hypothetically, if the 6 were to hit and this 5 were to hit with lead, I could drop the Monkey D. Luffy and do an unblockable 8, which really isn't enough to go for game in this situation, but it seems like my best option. So they block with Miss Wednesday, my first Trafalgar Law attack. Now I'm going to swing 5 again with lead. With my remaining Dawn, I can either restand Law and give it plus 1,000 and then attach any extra Dawn to it, or I can play Monkey D. Luffy and just rush. And I decided to go with for the rush. 8k at lead, they got 1 life card left. This will make my board a little vulnerable. So hypothetically, they could take both the Monkey D. Luffy and the Law out, which would be pretty unfortunate. If they play 8-drop Crocodile, they'll be able to heal 1. If they play Yamato, they'll be able to heal 1. So they play the Yamato. They're going to swing 5 into life. I'm going to take this, and I get the Bad Manners Kick Course. I'm actually going to use the trigger here to minus the Bond Clay, and then it's not that I was worried about Bond Clay swinging into life, but I did not want the Bond Clay swinging into my Law. And even though I could have countered out of it, might as well just use the trigger. Nine Dawn for me to work with. I'm going to go 6 with Law. They're going to take, no trigger. I'm debating what I should do next. I'm going to set the Law as active again, and this time swing for 7. Part of the reason I do this is I also kind of want to keep them on my toes. They get the Okama Way trigger, which lets them draw 2 cards. I was going to play the Rush Monkey D. Luffy, but then I'm just kind of like, well, if I'm pushing for game, I might as well just throw it all on Luffy and swing for 9,000 instead of 2, instead of a 5,000 and a 7,000. So, and let's see if they have it. They get to 8. Can they get to 10? They cannot. They have a brick 10. That I did not expect for that attack to go through. All of those big bodies in hand and Kikunojo triggers is really unfortunate. I see they're ready for a rematch, and yeah, let's run it back. They're choosing the turn order, and they choose to go second. This hand isn't too bad, but I would like to see something more early game friendly. I don't see a Nami, but I do have Brook and a 3-drop Zoro and a 3-drop Chopper. And so I do have some options. I'm going to swing with 5 with leader, and then I'm going to play out one of my Rush Zoros. I think this is the move, as It applies early pressure. They're going to want to have to get rid of the Zoro on their turn. And playing out a Chopper right now, I don't think really does anything for me. They take both hits, which is surprising, and pass. $5,000 at lead. I am going to take this. Let's see what we can get. We get another Brook. And they play out the Kikunojo. Now that I'm at 3 life, the Kikunojo's ability is active, so that is going to be annoying. I'm going to start off my turn by swinging 5 with Zoro at lead. They're going to counter out of it, not surprising. I'm going to swing 5 with leader here. And then my next move is going to be playing out the Nami and then playing out a Brook, and then I have to debate between Tony Chopper or Zoro. The Chopper would be it would be nice to have a blocker, but the Zoro really just applies so much pressure, and I do like that idea. Playing out the Nami, I see another Brook, another Chopper, and then Bad Manners Kick Course, and 2 Monkey D. Luffys from starter deck 1. I go with the Monkey D. Luffy. That's a great finisher. I play out the Brook and end up going with the Zoro play, and then I'm going to swing another 5 at life. And they're going to counter out of that 1K with Mr. Tube on Clay. Such a dope card. They are at 6 Dawn right now. I'm not sure if there's any 6 Dawn specific plays that Purple Yellow Croc specifically run. They're going to give 1 Dawn to their leader and swing 6 at Zoro. Gotta let it go. For 5 Dawn, maybe we see a Eustace Captain Kid blocker. Maybe we see another Mr. Tube on Clay. Maybe we see another Kikunojo. And we actually see the Gadatsu. I didn't realize Purple Yellow Croc decks are running that card. Or if they aren't, maybe it's just this deck. And so that's a great way for them to get rid of that Zoro. And then they swing 6,000 into life with Kikunojo. I do have a couple different options here. I could play out the Brook and Chopper combo like I did last turn, except using Chopper this turn. I'm going to swing 5 with the Brook already on the field. I do have a Cavendish, and I really like Cavendish in this deck. His on-play ability and when attacking ability is absolutely busted. They get another Okama Way trigger, draw 2 cards. I'm trying to calculate how I can most efficiently use my Dawn. I'm going to go 5 with lead into their leader. I imagine they'll want to counter out of this, or they'll take it. I wonder if they're kind of really searching for some triggers, because it seems kind of risky to take some of these hits. I'm going to go Cavendish, and then using Cavendish's ability, I get to restand 2 of my Dawn, and therefore I can play... I was originally going to do the Brook into Chopper play, but then I realized I do want to keep a Dawn up for Radical Beam, and so I'm not going to play Brook. I'm just going to play the 3-drop Chopper and then leave 1 up for a Radical Beam. They're going to play out the Miss Valentine, search for a Brockworks character. That Cavendish is so good. I just got my playset so I can use it in person at locals. Playing the Miss Valentine Searcher only leaves them with 6 Donna, which is definitely not ideal. I imagine this turn you'd want to play Crocodile or 8-drop Katakuri, something that will give you some life back. They play out the Gadatsu. This is just going to be able to kill my Nami. Now I'm feeling pretty comfortable with this game. 5, I could block it, but let's just take it, see what we can get. I want to encourage them to swing at my life so that Brook will stay alive to be a swing next turn. And so they continue swinging at my life. 6,000 with Kikunojo, and I'm just going to Radical Beam out of it. I'm going to start out with a Brook swing at lead for 5,000. The tricky part about this part of the game is that I'm expecting an Okama Way to redirect the attack to Okiku, which would then result in the Okiku dying and them getting another life. I play Monkey D. Luffy. I don't swing with it right away because I want to swing with Cavendish to use his ability. It's a little awkward doing that kind of in that order, but in order to maximize Cavendish, I have to. I'm debating on how much I should swing for. I decide to use leader ability to reactivate Cavendish. It gets plus 1,000, and then I get to restand 2 Don again. So this is the second time this turn I was able to restand 2 Don. So now they've got a 7k to deal with. And they're going to play Blast Breath. Four Don left up. I have 3 potential swings. I'm just going to go 5 with lead. And it hits no counter in hand. I wonder how much counter this deck actually runs, because this is the second time this has happened. If that didn't hit, I probably just would have put Don on Chopper, swung, and then put Don on Luffy and swung. GG's though. Those were really fun matches, and Red Green Luffy, kind of a sleeper deck. Alright, next game. Next up, we got a game against Red Black Monkey D. Garp. This is not a leader I've played against a ton, so I am not prepared for whatever kind of spice, whatever kind of dubious tactics they pull. I'm going first. I just draw 1 Don and pass. For those that don't know, during your turn, when you attach Don to this leader or one of your characters, give up to one of your opponent's 7 cost or lower characters -1 to their cost during this turn. And we'll see later on in this game that doesn't say once per turn. So that really stacks. So if you give Nami 3 Don, that can lower one of your characters by 3 cost. I could play out the Zoro here, but instead I just go 8k with Monkey D. Luffy and swing at lead. They take it and I pass. They're going to give 1 down to Croc, or pardon me, Garp, and swing 6,000. I'm going to take it. And then 5,000 with Zoro, and I'm going to 1k counter out of it. They pass it back to me. I get the Radical Beam top deck. I've got 5 Dawn to work with. I could go Brook into Zoro, swing 5 and 6 at the Zoro. But I decided to go Cavendish and swing 7 at the Zoro. Cavendish is such a fun card to use in this deck, and so I really want to establish it as early as possible. That'll make the rest of the game a lot easier for me. They counter out of the 7, really protecting that Zoro. I totally get it. It's going to apply a ton of pressure. I don't have a ton of counter in hand. This deck doesn't run a ton of counter. That's one thing I think I need to reevaluate. So here I am looking at the leader effect again because I did not realize that the effect, you could stack it and it wasn't just once per turn. So they don up their Zoro and Nami, use Meteor Volcano, and then KO that Cavendish, RIP. I'm going to counter out of this first hit. I've got a 6k coming at me with Zoro that I counter out of, and then I've got a 5k from Garp. I don't really want to get rid of this Brook. I do have events I can use. Let me know if you think this was the right play. I decide not to do anything and just take the hit. Let me know if you think I should have countered there, because I'm starting to feel like my back's against the wall in this match. So if I could have played it differently, let me know. I'm gonna go with the Nami Searcher first. I get the Brook blocker, the Chopper blocker, which is nice. But frankly, I'm just kind of looking for some answers. I go 5 with lead at the Zoro. I'm surprised they let it go. Here I'm going to go Brook into either Zoro or Chopper. And I decided to go with Zoro because then I can swing on that Nami. And then I'm going to leave 2 up for Radical Beam. The fact that I still had Radical Beams in hand and Dawn available is why I chose to go Zoro instead of Chopper blocker. They're going to swing 5 at me, and even though I haven't played many Garps before, the fact that it's a black deck makes me think that on their 8 Dawn turn, Gecko Moria's coming. I'm going to counter with Radical Beam out of this attack at Zoro, and then here we are, the Gecko Moria. They're going to play out Zoro and Brook. Brook gives Zoro 2 Rested Dawn, and I'm going to Radical Beam out of that attack as well. I do really need to get some of their characters off the board. I'm going to go 5 with my Brook into their Brook. They're going to take that. Kind of figuring out how I should divvy up my swings. I'm just going to go 5 at their Zoro with my Zoro. They give it to me, which I find surprising. I wonder if they've got a bricked hand or what. I'm going to swing 5 with lead. They're going to take it. I use leader ability to restand the Zoro, and now I'm swinging again for 6. And then I'm going to play out Blocker Law, and here I take back the Zoro, and I'm debating on whether or not I want to play the Chopper blocker or Zoro again. I go with the Zoro again and swing for another 5, really just to apply the pressure. I do think maybe there would be merit to playing the blocker instead. Let me know what you think, if that was the right decision or not. They're going to play the Kid and Killer, 7k at Zoro. I can't I could protect it, but it's not worth it. I'm just going to let it go. They give 1 Don to leader and swing 6 at Brook, giving -1 to Law. I have to let it go. Knowing that they have a Gecko still to swing on board and they have 5 Don up, that could be for a rusher. I'm definitely feeling a little nervous about my life. I do have the blocker Law up, but it's also a black deck that can KO things. So now I'm down to no life. I get the 2K, which is great. And they're going to swing 7 into lead. I am going to... I can just block and 2K out of this. So that's what I'm going to do. Block with Law, give him a 2K Monkey D. Luffy. And now I'm chilling. They leave 1 Dawn up. I imagine that is for Radical Beam or Guard Point. We get a Radical Beam ourselves, but I don't think that being able to clear this board is possible. I'm kind of calculating my situation and what I should actually do. I don't think there's any chance I'd be able to get rid of both of these Kid and Killers. I go 6 in the lead with starter deck 1, Rush Luffy, and that hits. A little surprised by that. Here I just go, I need to win this turn, so I'm going to go 6 with Trafalgar Law. They Radical Beam out of that, and that kind of tells me maybe it's over. Here is definitely a play mistake. Instead of swinging 5 with my leader, let me know. I think I should have just added all that Dawn onto my leader and swung for 10. So that was really weird. In hindsight, I think I did that wrong, but we still got the results. GG's. Finally, we got a game against Blue Yellow Ace from starter deck 13. This is a really interesting leader. I really like the leader and I want to be better at it than I am, and therefore I don't play with it a lot. I can't seem to find my way with it. I go first. I play Nami. I get out the Film Brook. I can use this next turn. I can actually combo the Dracula Mihawk into the Brook, into the Zoro. So that's 3 cards with only 3 Don investment. They're going to give 1 Don to their leader just to be silly. And I'm going to swing 5 with my leader. It hits, no trigger. And here we are, Mihawk and the Brook and the Zoro. 3 characters, 3 Don, now swinging 5 with Zoro, and they let that hit as well. Probably looking for some triggers. One Don to leader, 2 Don to leader. Is it going to be 3 Don to leader? They're going to use leader ability. They find a Monkey D. Luffy at the top of their deck. And now the question is, do they have the little brother Monkey D. Luffy? And they do. I have a feeling it's going to be a long day for me. When this ace sees all its pieces, it's really strong. The issue is just how consistently can it see all its pieces. 9K at Zoro, I gotta let it go. Now, they've got a ton of cards in hand. I've got barely any. Even though they're at 2 life, they're a 7,000 power leader. I am starting to get a little nervous. I've got 5 down to work with. The 5-drop lulls in my hand would not be able to restand any characters, so they are kind of useless for this turn. I'm just going to go 7 at life with my leader. And then play blocker Chopper. I wonder if there is an argument for me to maybe have not played out the blocker Chopper and just swung for 10,000 with my leader. Let me know in the comments what you think. 2 Don the leader again. They're going to find a 5-drop Yamato. Then they're going to play out the Hiyori from OP06. They get to take Yamato, put it into their hand, and then put another life at the top of their deck. Then they play out the little brother Ace, and they stacked an Ace on the top of their deck. This is not good news. 9k at lead with their leader. I have to take that. And then they're going to have a 7k swing coming as well. And I take that. Let me know if you think maybe I should have blocked one of those with Chopper or countered out of the 7k Ace one. I'm not confident in the decision that I made. I am going to counter out of this 6k by their Monkey D. Luffy. They don't activate its effect. Now back to me. I think Cavendish is the play here. That'll give me 2 Dawn back that I can use. Their leader being at 7,000 is a really big issue right now. This deck, for the most part, is really low to the ground. I decided to go 7 at their Monkey D. Luffy. I think there's an argument to be made here that I should have added down to Chopper. And even though it's a blocker, using its ability, I could have lowered Monkey D. Luffy down by, I believe it's minus 3,000 power. And so I think that you could say that's a little bit of a misplay. Here I have two remaining Dawn. I can add them both to Brook and swing 7 at the Luffy because I really need to get it off board. Or I could do Nami and then give 1 Dawn to Brook and swing for 6,000. In hindsight, I think that I should have done 7,000 and not played the Nami. But the Nami did get me a 2k counter. So yeah, it's just hard that I was not able to remove any of their characters off the board this turn. I've only got 1 blocker on the field. They've got a swing from leader, a swing from a 7,000 Ace, a swing from 6,000 Monkey D. Luffy. That could be 8,000 if they want. I do have a little bit of counter in hand, which is nice, but this is kind of the nail in the coffin, it feels like. Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger sends my blocker Chopper and my Cavendish to the bottom of my deck. Nothing I can do about that. That was just perfectly timed, and yeah, really took the wind out of my sails. They go 7 into lead, I take it, and I get the Kid and Killer. That's good. That's what I want to see. They do have swings with their leader and Ace left. They're going to go 7 into lead. I can counter out of this, but I counter out of it, but what's really the point? And then they're going to swing 5 at Brook, and I am going to trash the Law as counter. Unfortunately, they don't pass the turn back to me. And I messaged them a couple times, kind of like, hey, you still there? Because I really wanted to play this game out, even though I'm expecting to lose. I do end up conceding, so we can see what cards they have in their hand. And we can see that I would have lost because my play line would have been swing at lead for 5,000 with Brook. They could block out of that. Swing, give a Dawn to Mihawk. Swing 5,000 at lead. They can counter out of that. Then I would swing 5,000 with leader, and they could counter out of that. Then I would swing 7,000 with Kid and Killer. That would hit. Then I would restand Kid and Killer for 8,000, and that would hit, but I would need to hit them 3 times. So yeah, I was gonna lose that match anyway. It's a bummer that they just kind of went AFK and didn't continue playing, but yeah, that was a great showing of the potential of blue yellow ace. I think it had everything you want to see from it. The synergizing the little and the big brothers, and then also being able to bottom deck in such a crucial situation. If I had Cavendish and that chopper still on the board, this final turn would look a lot different. Thanks for watching. After playing some games with Red Green Luffy, I definitely understand why this leader is not meta. The 4-Don requirement is pretty steep. There are probably different ways to synergize it with the deck that I just didn't use today, and that will take me more time to figure out and really get more comfortable with. But even though we got some dubs, it did not feel like the best deck ever. Cavendish is a great card and definitely has a ton of potential in this deck. Zoro was probably the MVP. I just always saw them, and for 3-Don and being able to cheat it out with Law, or no, not Law, Brook or Mihawk, you really get great value. Kid and Killer is an awesome card, but we didn't really see it much in the couple games that I tested with. But I'm sure over a long enough time span, Kid and Killer and also this Law would be some of the more important cards as well. I think there are some improvements to be made. I will probably come back to this leader, so subscribe if you want to see more Red Green Luffy. Let me know in the comments what other leaders you'd like me to see, what other spice I should cook. I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Johnny TCG, and I'm out. Peace.